The bus came into Derry under a sky the color of old bruises. Carrie White noticed that first, the sky. It was not storming, not exactly, but the clouds hung low and swollen, like they were holding something back. Rain threatened without committing. The kind of weather that made people uneasy for reasons they could not quite explain. The bus hissed as it slowed, brakes sighing like a tired animal. Carrie sat alone near the back, hands folded in her lap, her suitcase wedged between her feet. It was a small suitcase. She did not own much anymore. She had learned, over the last year, that you could lose everything and still be breathing. That survival did not always feel like victory. "Derry, Maine," the sign said as they rolled past it. Carrie felt it then, a faint pressure behind her eyes. The same sensation she'd felt the first time a boy in gym class laughed at her while the girls screamed. The same tightness she'd felt when her mother locked her in the prayer closet and whispered about sin and blood and hellfire. This was different, though. This was not aimed at her. This was everywhere. The town watched. The bus station was small and smelled faintly of mildew and burned coffee. A man behind the counter glanced up when Carrie stepped inside, then quickly looked away. His smile never came. She noticed that, too. People in Derry were good at not looking. Carrie adjusted the collar of her coat and waited while a social worker, Mrs. Klein, thin and tight-faced, with hair sprayed into a stiff helmet, signed papers and murmured reassurances that sounded rehearsed. "This will be good for you," Mrs. Klein said. "A fresh start, quiet town, good people." Carrie nodded. She nodded a lot these days. It was easier than explaining that quiet did not mean safe, and that good people had never stopped anything bad from happening. Outside, the rain finally began to fall. They drove through neighborhoods that looked almost cheerful if you did not stare too long. White houses, trim lawns, American flags hanging limp and wet. But there was something wrong in the details. Too many empty lots, too many boarded windows, too many drains. Carrie's gaze kept drifting to the gutters, to the dark circles where water vanished underground. She did not know why, only that her thoughts snagged there again and again. Something lived beneath this town. She felt it the way some people felt storms in their bones. The house assigned to her stood near the edge of town, not far from a stand of trees and an old storm drain that cut across the road like a scar. It was small, gray, and smelled faintly of bleach and neglect. The kind of place meant to be temporary, though temporary had a way of stretching into forever. Mrs. Klein unlocked the door and gestured inside. "You'll be staying here until further arrangements can be made," she said. "There's a school nearby. Classes start Monday." School. The word landed like a dropped plate. Carrie swallowed. "Is it big?" Mrs. Klein hesitated, just for a second. "Average." That hesitation stayed with Carrie long after the car drove away. The house was quiet in the way abandoned places are quiet, not peaceful, but expectant. The refrigerator hummed too loudly. Pipes knocked inside the walls like distant footsteps. Carrie unpacked slowly, folding clothes into drawers that smelled of mothballs. That night, she dreamed of blood again. But it was not falling on her this time. It was rising. Derry revealed itself in pieces. The next morning, Carrie walked into town. The sidewalks were cracked, weeds pushing through like stubborn thoughts. She passed a group of children riding bikes. They laughed, then went silent as they noticed her. One boy stared at her for too long. Carrie felt a flicker inside her, an involuntary tightening. A stop sign down the street rattled on its pole. The boy blinked, suddenly uncomfortable, and looked away. Carrie exhaled. Control, she told herself. She had learned control the hard way. At the corner near the pharmacy, she noticed a red balloon tied to a sewer grate. It bobbed gently in the breeze, glossy and bright against the gray street. No one was holding it. Carrie frowned. A moment later, a man in a raincoat walked past and stepped directly over the balloon as if it was not there. He did not look down, did not react. The balloon tugged once, then slipped into the grate, vanishing with a soft, wet sound. Carrie stood very still. Her heart was beating too fast. That afternoon, she visited the library. Libraries had always been safe places for her, quiet, structured, ruled by rules people actually followed. The Derry Public Library smelled of dust and old paper and something else beneath it, something faintly rotten. She wandered between the shelves, fingers brushing spines. History books caught her attention. Derry's history section was larger than she expected for a town this size. Fires, floods, explosions, disappearances. She sat at a table and began to read. Children went missing here more often than they should. Carrie noticed patterns even when she tried not to. She always had. Dates clustered. Gaps between tragedies stretched just long enough for people to forget. Then it would happen again. A librarian watched her from behind the desk, eyes sharp and uneasy. When Carrie looked up, the woman smiled too quickly. "Finding everything all right, dear?" "Yes," Carrie said. The lights above flickered. That night, the noises began. At first, it was just water moving through pipes. Then laughter, thin, distant, echoing. Carrie sat up in bed, heart pounding. The laughter came again, clearer this time, childlike. Wrong. She got up and moved to the window. Outside, rain slicked the street, turning it black and shining. The storm drain across the road gaped open, water pouring into it. Something shifted down there. Carrie felt it before she saw it, a presence pressing upward, curious. A voice floated up from the dark. "Carrie." Her name slid through the air like a finger along glass. She stepped back, shaking. "No," she whispered. The voice laughed softly. He had been watching her since the moment she arrived. Pennywise did not think of himself as a clown, not really. That was just a shape, a mask, one of many. What he was had existed long before Derry, before names, before fear had learned how to scream. Children were best. Their fear was bright and sharp and sweet. Carrie White was different. Her fear was old, complicated, burned and cauterized into something else. Rage. That intrigued him. He watched from below as she backed away from the window, as the glass trembled ever so slightly in its frame. Not a child anymore, he thought. But not entirely grown either. Perfect. The first dream came the following night. Carrie stood in a narrow hallway that smelled of dust and old books. A single door waited at the end, white paint peeling. She knew that door. She had knelt in front of it as a child, begging. It opened. Her mother stood there, hands folded, eyes bright with terrible love. "Come in, Carrie," Margaret White said softly. "You need to be punished." Carrie screamed herself awake. The bedside lamp exploded. Glass rained down like sharp confetti. Outside, beneath the street, something laughed and learned. Carrie stopped going out after sunset. It was not a conscious decision at first. It simply happened the way habits always did, quietly, without ceremony. The sky would darken, the streetlights would flicker on with a tired orange glow, and something inside her would tighten, urging her to stay put. Night belonged to Derry. During the day, the town wore a mask of normalcy. People went to work. Children rode their bikes. The grocery store clerk smiled and asked how she was settling in. But when darkness came, the mask slipped. Carrie felt it most strongly in the quiet moments, when the refrigerator clicked off, when the wind brushed the siding of the house, when the pipes fell silent. That was when he moved. The dreams grew more frequent, always the same hallway, always the same door. But the details changed. Sometimes the door was scorched black, the paint blistered and peeling. Other times it was swollen and damp, as if waterlogged. Once, she noticed a thin line of blood seeping out from beneath it, spreading across the floor toward her bare feet. Her mother was always there. Margaret White never raised her voice in the dreams. She did not have to. Her disappointment was sharper than anger. "You invited this," she would say. "This is what happens when women forget their place. God sees you, Carrie. He sees the filth in your heart." Carrie tried to scream, but no sound came. She would wake with her throat burning, her sheets twisted tight around her legs. The morning after the third dream in a row, every mirror in the house cracked. At school, things were careful. Derry High was not large, but it felt cavernous, hallways echoing with footsteps and half-swallowed laughter. Teachers spoke to her gently, with that same rehearsed kindness Mrs. Klein had used. Students stared when they thought she was not looking. Carrie noticed the way their eyes slid away when she met their gaze. They felt something about her. She sat in the back of every class, hands folded, breathing slow. She kept her emotions wrapped tight, the way she'd learned to after the prom. Control was survival. Still, little things happened. A boy snickered under his breath during English class. His desk trembled. Just once. Enough that he froze and went pale. A girl whispered something cruel in the locker room. The lockers slammed shut on their own. Carrie pretended not to notice, but someone else did. Pennywise watched from the places between, from the shadows beneath the bleachers, from the dark space above ceiling tiles, from the hollow mouths of bathroom drains. Fear usually bloomed quickly, a taste, a test, then the feast. But Carrie's fear came wrapped in memory, layered thick with resentment and shame and anger. It was hard to separate. So Pennywise chose a different approach. He chose familiarity. The first time Carrie saw her mother awake and breathing in Derry, it was in the grocery store. She was reaching for a loaf of bread when she caught a glimpse of gray fabric at the end of the aisle. A familiar shape, a familiar posture. Her heart lurched. Margaret White stood near the canned goods, examining a label with disapproving intensity. Her hair was pulled back tightly. Her mouth was set in that thin, righteous line Carrie knew better than her own reflection. Carrie's breath came in short, shallow pulls. She told herself it was not real. It could not be. Her mother was dead. Margaret looked up. Their eyes met. Carrie dropped the bread. When she blinked, the aisle was empty. The bread lay squashed at her feet. That night, Pennywise smiled. He began to appear more often. Reflections lingered too long. Shadows moved against the light. Whispers threaded through the static of the radio. Always her mother's voice. "You were born in sin, Carrie. You bring corruption wherever you go. This town will punish you the way it should have before." Carrie tried prayer once. It felt wrong on her tongue. The words turned sour, heavy with old fear. The walls creaked. Something thumped beneath the house. She stopped praying. The school noticed changes. Carrie grew quieter, paler. Her eyes tracked things no one else could see. Teachers exchanged glances when lockers rattled or lights flickered near her. Once, during history class, the teacher mentioned a fire, an old one, decades ago, that had killed 12 children. Carrie's head snapped up. She felt a presence then, sharp and amused, brushing against her thoughts. The chalkboard cracked straight down the middle. The class erupted in screams. Carrie stood slowly, hands trembling. "I did not," she began, then stopped. She had. Pennywise felt her awareness turn toward him. That was new. Most prey never looked back. He drifted closer, testing boundaries. He let her feel him in the drains, in the dark places, just enough to keep her off balance. But the form of her mother, that was the key. He could see it now, how deep the wounds went, how fear and love had tangled together inside her until they were inseparable. She will break, he thought. Everyone did. The confrontation came on a Thursday evening. Carrie returned home to find the front door unlocked. The house smelled different. Not bleach, dust, sweat, old perfume. Her mother's perfume. "Carrie!" A voice called from the kitchen. Her legs wanted to run. Her mind refused. She walked forward. Margaret White stood by the sink, hands wet, as if she'd been washing something. The overhead light cast her face in sharp lines, making her eyes too bright. "You've been disobedient," Margaret said. "I felt it." Carrie swallowed hard. "You're not real," she said. Margaret smiled. "Oh, Carrie," she said gently. "I've always been real." The cabinets rattled. Plates slid toward the edge of the counter. Carrie's heartbeat thundered in her ears. "No," she said again, louder this time. The smile widened, and for just a moment, something else showed through the skin. Painted red. White grease paint. Yellow eyes. Carrie screamed. The kitchen exploded outward, cabinets tearing free from the walls, glass and wood and metal suspended in midair. Pennywise recoiled, surprise flashing through him like pain. This was wrong. This was backward. He fled into the pipes as the house shuddered around her. Carrie collapsed to her knees, sobbing, surrounded by wreckage. For the first time since coming to Derry, she understood something with terrible clarity. The thing tormenting her was not her past. It was alive, and it was afraid. That night, as Carrie sat amid the ruins of her kitchen, the storm drain across the street gurgled softly. Pennywise watched from below, wounded but intrigued. Fear had always been his weapon, but Carrie White wielded something else entirely. Something that could hurt him. And for the first time in a very long time, Pennywise began to plan not how to feed, but how to survive. After the kitchen, Derry stopped pretending. The town did not turn hostile outright, that would have been too obvious, but the thin layer of courtesy began to peel. People hesitated before answering Carrie's questions. Doors closed a little faster when she passed. Conversations died mid-sentence. Fear was leaking into the open. Carrie felt it like static against her skin. She did not fix the kitchen right away. The cabinets lay broken, drawers ripped from their tracks, plates shattered across the linoleum. At night, she sat among the ruins and listened to the house settle, listened to the pipes whisper. She was not hiding anymore. She was waiting. Pennywise circled. He stayed mostly out of sight now, content to let the town do some of the work for him. That was one of Derry's strengths. It absorbed fear, spread it, fed it back into the ground. Carrie felt the shift at school first. A note slipped into her locker. Freak. The letters were shaky, written fast. She stared at it for a long moment, then folded it carefully and put it in her pocket. Later, another appeared. Burn in hell. The lights flickered as she read it. A third note never made it to her locker. It burst into flame halfway there, startling the girl carrying it so badly she dropped it with a scream. Carrie watched the ashes drift to the floor. Her hands were steady. He tried children next. That was always his favorite angle. Small bodies, loud fears. He whispered to them in the dark, nudged them toward Carrie with stories and lies. She's dangerous. She's a witch. She killed people before. Kids listened. They always did.
A group of them followed her one afternoon as she walked home. 5 this time. Too many. Their bikes rattled behind her like loose bones.
"Hey!" one called. "Hey, psycho!" Carrie stopped. Slowly, she turned. Their courage wavered. Fear bled through the bravado. That fear flowed into her, not as nourishment, but as pressure, heat, weight. The bikes lifted from the ground, not high, just enough. The children screamed and ran. Carrie let the bikes drop. She stood alone in the street, breathing hard. Beneath the asphalt, something hissed in anger. Pennywise felt it clearly now. She was not prey. She was a force. And worse, she was learning. He needed to end this quickly. Subtlety had failed. Familiarity had failed. So Pennywise returned to what he did best. He returned to spectacle. The town's old high school, the abandoned one, not the new building Carrie attended, sat at the edge of Derry like a rotten tooth. Windows boarded, doors chained. But inside, the power still worked. The city never bothered to shut it off. Places like that were useful. Pennywise filled it with memories. He let Carrie feel it tugging at her mind, the echo of lockers slamming, shoes squeaking on gym floors, laughter sharp as glass, the prom, blood, humiliation. He waited until she could no longer ignore the pull. Carrie dreamed of the school 3 nights in a row. On the 4th night, she went. The front doors groaned open at her touch.
Dust stirred in the stale air. The building smelled like mold and old sweat, and something sweeter underneath. Decay. Lights flickered on as she walked down the hall.
"Carrie," her mother's voice called softly. "You came." Carrie stepped into the gym. It was decorated. Streamers hung from the ceiling. Paper stars glittered faintly. A banner stretched across the far wall. Prom night. Her stomach tightened, but she did not stop. Margaret White stood on the stage, hands folded, smiling with terrible pride. "You see," Margaret said, "it always comes back to this." Carrie took another step. The doors slammed shut behind her. Pennywise emerged slowly, peeling away Margaret's face like wet paper. The clown stood beneath it, white paint cracked, red mouth stretched into a grin that split too wide. His eyes burned yellow in the dim light. "I gave you every chance," he said, voice layered and wrong. "You could have been so sweet." Carrie looked at him, really looked. She saw the seams now, the false solidity, the hunger. "You're afraid of me," she said. Pennywise laughed.
Oh, little girl. The basketball hoops bent inward with a screech of metal. The bleachers tore loose, slamming together like clapping hands. Carrie rose into the air. "I'm not little," she said. The gym ignited. Not all at once. One light burst, then another. Fire crawled along the streamers, raced across the ceiling. Smoke rolled thick and black. Pennywise lunged. He became claws, teeth, legs too many to count. Carrie threw him back. He hit the far wall hard enough to crack brick. Blood, dark, oily, wrong, spilled across the floor. Pennywise screamed. That scream shook the building. This was impossible. Fear was supposed to flow toward him, not away. But Carrie's presence burned it out of the air. She did not recoil. She did not break. She advanced. Every step shattered something. "You fed on us," she said. "On children. On pain." Pennywise dragged himself upright, changing shapes faster now. A boy with no face, a dead teacher, a spider the size of a car. Nothing held. Carrie lifted her hand. The ceiling collapsed. Pennywise understood then. This was not a fight he could win, not here, not like this. He fled. He poured himself into cracks and drains and shadows, tearing pieces of himself free to escape her reach. Carrie fell to her knees as the gym burned around her. She was shaking, but she was alive. Derry burned with it. Not the whole town, just enough. A fire in the old school, sirens, smoke rising into the bruised sky. People watched from their windows. They did not ask questions. They never did. Beneath the streets, Pennywise curled into himself, wounded deeper than he had been in centuries. This was no child. This was no meal. This was a reckoning. And reckoning, Pennywise knew, could destroy even things that believed themselves eternal. Carrie stood in the ruins long after the fire died, ash falling like snow. She felt him still, faint, retreating, not gone, but hurting. For the first time in her life, she smiled. Derry woke up wrong. It was not anything people could point to. The sun rose, cars started, coffee brewed. But something underneath the ordinary had shifted, like a bone that had slipped out of place during the night. Carrie felt it immediately. She stood at the edge of the burned-out school, ash still clinging to her coat, and listened to the town breathe. It sounded strained, uneven, as if Derry itself were in pain. Pennywise was still here, hurt, but not gone. The rumors started before noon. Some said the fire had been an electrical accident. Others said it was arson. A few whispered about her, the strange girl who had been seen near the school before the flames rose. Carrie walked through town as those whispers followed her like flies. She saw fear now, raw and unmasked. A woman pulled her child closer when Carrie passed. A man crossed the street to avoid her. The boy from English class, freckles, nervous eyes, stared openly, hatred and terror twisting together on his face. Pennywise was feeding again, not on Carrie, on everyone else. He had learned something important in the burning gym. He could not break Carrie directly, so he would break Derry. Fear did not have to come from her. It could come at her. He seeped into the town's foundations, into its history, its guilt, its silences.
He whispered into dreams and daydreams alike. She's the cause. She brought the fire. She'll bring more. And Derry listened. Derry always listened. The first stone shattered her window just after midnight. Carrie did not scream. She sat up slowly as glass rained onto the floor. Outside, a figure ran, then another. A third stone followed, striking the wall with a dull crack. "Witch!" someone shouted. Carrie stood. The house groaned around her, reacting to her rising pulse. The lights brightened, then dimmed. The air thickened, humming with restrained force. No, she told herself. She pressed it down, held it in. The shouting faded, but the damage remained. The next day at school, a teacher avoided meeting her eyes. Another asked her to stay after class. "We think it might be best," the principal said carefully, hands folded, "if you took some time away until things settle." Carrie understood the lie for what it was. Things did not settle in Derry. They sank. She walked out without responding. The lockers along the hallway dented inward as she passed. Pennywise watched from a storm drain near the school, his many eyes gleaming in the dark. Yes, this was better. Carrie's anger burned hot and fast, but guilt would eat her alive. He fed on that too. That night, he came to her not as her mother, or not as a clown, but as Derry itself. She dreamed she stood in the center of town, streets spiraling outward like veins. Houses leaned in close, windows blinking like eyes. The ground beneath her pulsed. "You're hurting us," the town said, its voice layered with thousands of others. Children, parents, the dead. Carrie fell to her knees. "I did not mean to," she whispered. The streets cracked. Blood seeped up through the pavement. Pennywise smiled inside the dream. Carrie woke, screaming. The house shook. This time she did not stop it. The walls bowed outward. The roof creaked. Every piece of glass in the building shattered at once. She sank to the floor, sobbing, hands clamped over her ears. "I do not want this," she said aloud. "I do not want any of this." The storm drain across the street burbled softly, almost sympathetically. Days passed. Derry grew uglier. A dog went missing. A child fell down a well and broke his neck. A woman drove her car into a river for reasons she could not explain. Fear spiked, and Pennywise grew stronger. He let Carrie see the consequences. She felt every scream like a pinprick under her skin. Every funeral tightened the coil inside her chest. She stopped leaving the house. Inside, the air crackled with restrained power. Objects drifted inches above surfaces. Doors opened and closed on their own. Carrie sat at the kitchen table, what was left of it, and stared at her hands. If I disappear, she thought, will it stop? The thought scared her more than Pennywise ever had. The knock came at dusk. 3 sharp raps. Carrie looked up. "No," she whispered. The door opened anyway. Margaret White stepped inside. But something was wrong. Her mother's face sagged slightly, like wax melting too close to flame. Her eyes were too deep, too bright. "You see what you've done?" Margaret said. "This town is rotting because of you." Carrie stood. "Get out." Margaret's mouth split wider. "You do not belong among people," Pennywise said through her. "You belong with me." The house screamed. Every nail tore free at once.
Margaret's body twisted, bones cracking, flesh peeling away as Pennywise revealed himself fully, clown, spider, shadow, all at once. Carrie screamed, not in fear, but in fury. The house collapsed inward, folding around him like a fist. Pennywise shrieked as beams crushed into his body, tearing pieces away. But he held. Barely. They stood facing each other in the wreckage. "You cannot kill me," Pennywise rasped. "You're too human." Carrie's tears streamed freely now. "I do not want to kill," she said. "I want you to stop." Pennywise laughed weakly. "That's the same thing." The town groaned. Deep beneath them, something ancient shifted. Carrie felt it then. The truth Pennywise had never said aloud. He was not the heart of Derry. He was a symptom. The town had invited him, fed him, protected him. If she wanted this to end, she could not just fight the monster. She had to face the place that made him possible. She stepped past Pennywise, ignoring his shocked hiss. "Where are you going?" he demanded. "To the beginning," Carrie said. She lifted into the air, rising above the ruins of her house, above the watching streets. The storm drains began to rattle. Pennywise screamed as something pulled at him from below, not fear this time, but gravity. The town itself was calling him back, and Carrie was calling it out. Derry's oldest school, the one beneath the newer ruins, the one buried and forgotten, waited. So did the end. The old school was not on any map. It lay beneath Derry like a buried memory, compressed by time, rot, and deliberate forgetting. Streets had been laid over it, houses built, lives lived. But the place remained, preserved in darkness, waiting. Carrie felt it as a pressure pulling her downward, not calling, demanding. She hovered above the street as the pavement cracked open beneath her. Asphalt split with a sound like breaking teeth. A sinkhole yawned wide, exhaling a breath that smelled of rust, damp stone, and ancient fear. Pennywise screamed as the pull intensified. "No!" he shrieked, clawing at the air.
"You do not understand what you're doing." Carrie descended anyway. The tunnels swallowed them. Walls wept condensation. Pipes groaned overhead like distant animals. Symbols scratched into stone pulsed faintly. Circles, eyes, teeth. Evidence of other children. Other wars lost. Pennywise dragged himself along behind her, shedding pieces, balloons, limbs, laughter, each fragment dissolving as it touched the walls. "You think you're different?" he hissed. "They all did." Carrie stopped. She turned to face him. "I know I'm not," she said. That scared him more than her power ever had. They reached the chamber at the center, the heart. It was larger than any room should be, a cavern reinforced with rotting beams and old brick. The floor was slick with layers of dried blood and something darker beneath. The ceiling vanished into shadow. In the middle of it all stood a single object, a stage, small, wooden, decorated with faded stars, a mockery. Pennywise laughed then, a thin, cracking sound. "Home," he whispered. The lights flickered on. Carrie felt the town watching. Every fear Derry had ever buried pressed in on her at once. Drowned children, burned houses, missing faces on milk cartons. The weight was enormous. This was where Pennywise fed. This was where Derry had learned to look away. "You're not alone," Pennywise said, his voice steadier now, stronger. "They gave me this place. They need me." Carrie stepped onto the stage. Wood creaked beneath her feet. "I know," she said. The realization settled fully then, not like a blow, but like cold water. Pennywise was not just a monster. He was permission. He changed forms rapidly now, cycling through horrors with practiced ease. A clown, a spider, a burning girl in a prom dress, Margaret White, smiling with wet eyes. "You were born for this," Margaret said. "You and I, we're the same." Carrie felt the old reflex tighten inside her, the urge to obey, the urge to break. She closed her eyes and did neither. "No," she said softly. The stage trembled. Pennywise lunged, not with teeth or claws, but with fear itself. The chamber flooded with memories that were not hers. Children screaming, hands slipping, the moment before pain. He poured it into her, raw and unfiltered. For a second, just one, Carrie faltered. Her knees buckled, the lights dimmed. Pennywise surged forward, triumphant. "Yes," he breathed. "That's it. Feel it." Carrie opened her eyes and saw him clearly. Not vast, not eternal. Small, hungry, afraid. "You're scared," she said. The words hit him like a slap. "No," Pennywise snarled. "You are," she insisted. "Because you need us, and I do not need you." The fear recoiled. The chamber shuddered. For the first time, Pennywise did not advance. He stepped back. Carrie understood then. Fear was his language, but acceptance was poison. She let the memories wash through her, every humiliation, every scream, every drop of blood, and did not fight them, did not reject them, did not turn them into rage. She held them. The power inside her changed texture, deepening, slowing. The air went still. Pennywise's grin collapsed. "What are you doing?" he whispered. "I'm done being afraid," Carrie said. The town screamed, not aloud, but in her head. Derry resisted, pushing back, demanding its monster. Carrie felt the choice settle fully in her chest. If she finished this, something would be lost. Not just Pennywise, not just Derry. Her. She hesitated, and Pennywise lunged again. That was his mistake. Carrie raised her hand, not in anger, in finality. The chamber imploded inward, walls folding like paper. Pennywise screamed as gravity betrayed him, pulling him toward the center of the stage, toward nothing. "No, I'm real," he shrieked. "I've always been real." Carrie's voice was calm. So was I. The stage collapsed. Pennywise folded in on himself, form unraveling, fear leaking out of him in great, useless waves. He felt it then. True fear. Fear without illusion. Fear of ending. When it was over, there was silence. No laughter, no whispering, just the sound of stone settling. Carrie stood alone in the dark. The power drained from her slowly, like blood from a wound. She sank to her knees, shaking, exhausted. Above her, Derry shuddered, then stilled. Morning came. The sinkhole closed, the cracks sealed.
the town resumed breathing. People woke with headaches and vague sadness. Some cried without knowing why. Others felt lighter, as if something heavy had finally let go. Children stopped disappearing. The drains ran clear. No one spoke of the night the town almost ended. They never did. Carrie White was never found. Some said she died in the collapse. Others claimed she left town before dawn, walking north until the road ended. A few insisted they saw her years later, standing at the edge of another town, watching carefully, making sure. Deep beneath Derry, where fear once lived, there was nothing now. Just an empty space, and the echo of a monster that had learned, too late, what it meant to be afraid.